Hello everyone, DarkWolfRahb here. It's spooky month. This is my costume because I'm really bad at coming up with costume ideas. Spooky season has returned once again and Halloween is right around the corner, and as such, I've been playing a bunch of spooky games on my Twitch channel during DarkWolfRahb of the Damn month, which is my annual event where I try to play at least more than one horror game before Halloween rolls around. And this year I wanted to make a YouTube video about some of my favorite spooky games of all time. Some spookier than others. I will say I have a certain threshold that I don't usually tend to exceed when it comes to how spooky those games are. Basically, games on this list are gonna run the gamut. Some are definitely more frightening than others. Some of them are not really frightening at all. They're more psychological and moody and stuff like that. But I think all of the games on this list, in no particular order, mind you, are all games that if you see them, like on a Steam sale or on PlayStation or on Xbox or wherever you play video games, you should definitely check them out because they will make this particular Halloween season that much spookier.
Whoa! Shit.
Oh, and one last little note before we get into the video. As much as I love Dead Space and Resident Evil and games cut from that particular horror video game cloth, this video is more about games you may not have heard of, or at least smaller titles that sometimes go under the radar. So please don't be mad at me for not talking about those games. There are millions of videos talking about those games. I love those games, you love those games, we love those games together. But wouldn't it be cool to talk about games that people don't really know about? So that's why they're not here.
Please don't be mad. Without further ado, let's kick this Halloween holiday spooky season off with DarkWolfRahb's must-play horror games of 2025 and basically any year. SOMA, one of my favorite horror games of all time. SOMA is the best horror game I've ever streamed during DarkWolfRahb of the Damn. That's like no question. I streamed that game like in a couple of sessions, I think maybe 2 or 3 sessions total. It's not a very long game, but the terror and the storytelling and the characters and the ending and all of the suspense and chaos and just some of the really horrific stuff that goes on in that game is all unbelievable. I highly recommend it. There is no way to explain how good SOMA is without giving the game away, and I do not want to ruin any of it for you because the one downside about SOMA is that once you play it, you can never experience SOMA again for the first time ever. It is a one and done game, and even I have had a hard time going back to it for a second playthrough because it was just that good the first time that there's just no way it can be repeated. Cryostasis. Cryostasis is a game that you probably don't know about, but it is a game that you should definitely check out if you're willing to put up with the fact that it probably will run like shit and it will be very hard to get it to play normally and you should be saving constantly. But honestly, it's like no other horror game that exists, especially because it came out during a really weird time for video games in the middle of the aughts. And despite it being a game that probably not everybody knows, it's a game that recently Jacksepticeye of all people highlighted on his YouTube channel. And I was like, yes, score a point for Cryostasis because people really need to play this game because it is fucking weird, slightly terrifying, both because of how it runs and what's actually in the game. And the story it tells is just really, really fucking cool and perfect for horror. Observation. This is another one that I'm not sure a lot of people played. There's not a ton of game there really, but I think the story is really, really great. You play HAL 9000 on the doomed mission to Jupiter, except this time it's where the hell has your crew gone on a space station that is spiraling around an alien planet, and the main character of the game has no idea what the fuck is going on, and it goes as sideways as you think, and it is such an enjoyable experience. I could not stop playing it, and again, it is one of those games where the ending, it was just like jaw on floor. That was so damn good. Sadly, another game with very little replay value, but worth the 5 to 10 hours to get through it and see it to its conclusion, which again, really, really good. Prey 2016. So the sad thing about Prey 2016 is that Arcane Studios now is not the Arcane of 2016, nor the Arcane of Dishonored 1 and Dishonored 2, but Prey 2016, which again, it should never have been called Prey. It should have been whatever they originally wanted to call it and not what Bethesda and Microsoft enforced them to call it in order to use the Prey name in their marketing. That game is fantastic. It's an immersive sim in space about, you know, the cost of pushing science forward so drastically that it could actually put the entirety of the human race in extreme peril and danger. And what you, being caught in the middle of this potential horrific event, are going to do about it to either save yourself or save humanity. And holy shit, it is just so good. It can be played 1,000 different ways. There's multiple endings. There's a DLC to it that's also fantastic. The voice acting, the characters, the writing, the immersive sim elements, all of it is just so fucking cool. I can't recommend it enough. You have to check out Parade 2016 if you haven't already done so. It's always on sale, and it's really fucking good. Mouthwashing. This was my favorite horror game of last year. It's a bit of a walking simulator game, and the story kind of is, you know, fed to you as you play along its very linear story, and there's minor puzzles here and there, but honestly, as a game that seems heavily inspired by, if not the story of, but the art style and mood of something like an Alien film, the characters and the story and the just terrifying lengths that people will go to mentally check out of a, like, ultimately terrifying situation is pretty unbelievable and so well done by such a small studio. There's no voice acting. There's really good music in it. There's some really good audio design and sound effects in there. And, you know, this game it's not a looker, but it is definitely a shocker. And I think if you do not play Mouthwashing, you are denying yourself one of the best psychological horror indie games of the last, I would say, at least 5 years. Little Nightmares 1 and 2. If you have been looking at Reanimal and going, holy crap, that game looks really exciting and amazing, the original Little Nightmares 1 and 2 are some of my favorite horror games of all time. The minute both of them came out, I just devoured them and played them from beginning to end on stream and loved every minute of both of them. They're not particularly scary, but they are extremely creepy. There's some really gross stuff in there. You know, it's not a very story-heavy game, but it's story told through environment and character and setting and situational stories. And you know, the sort of antagonists that you encounter and the evil forces and the people who are really trying to bring your existence to an unfortunate end are really something else. Honestly, I think both games are fantastic. In some respects, I think the first game is better than the second one in terms of just how cohesive the story is. In terms of gameplay, I think the second one absolutely is better than the first one. You don't need to play Little Nightmares 1 and 2 in order to be prepared for when Reanimal comes out, which I played the demo of and it is excellent. But I honestly think that if anything of Reanimal's marketing or trailers or what have you is hitting with you, you owe it to yourself to play Little Nightmares 1 and 2. Inside, the sophomore title and follow-up game from the studio, what brought us Limbo. My goodness, I played this game on stream in I think maybe 2 sittings and thought it was genuinely a better game than Limbo in every way. It's a really incredible horror adventure. It is really creepy. The storytelling is light, mostly done through environmental encounters and puzzles. And I think it keeps the tension up all the way through to a really wonderful degree. And you're just not going to want to stop playing it till you've gotten all the way through it. And I just think it's one of those games that everybody who likes horror should absolutely play. Doom 3. Okay, I know. There was an issue with the flashlight years ago where everyone was like, why isn't this flashlight available while you're shooting things? And people made mods and everything, and it was a big to-do. And I'm telling you, go play Doom 3 again now and forget about the games that came before it and after it, and do not use the flashlight mod, and you will understand why I think that game is actually a really good horror game and a really good Doom game that actually nails the tension of you're fighting demonic monsters on board a spaceship that is coming apart at the seams because hell has taken it over, and why that is genuinely terrifying. And in my humble opinion, no other Doom game has been nearly as terrifying or as horrific before or since. As much as I like the latter Doom games, although I haven't played the latest one, and why I absolutely adore the original Doom games, especially Doom 1 and Doom 2, they're not really horror games. Doom 3 is the only one that kind of understood the assignment of this shit should be horrific, and it is. And one of my favorite clips of all time from my Twitch channel was also taken during Doom 3, and it genuinely like startled the fuck out of me, because that's just what that game is. And I think if you approach it with fresh eyes, you will enjoy it very much the way that I did. System Shock 2. What can I say about System Shock 2 that hasn't already been said? Before Ken Levine took us both to the clouds and far under the sea, he brought us into space and showed us true terror at the hands of a artificial intelligence that wanted to take over humanity. Truly, this game can be terrifying at times, and it's been re-released multiple times, and there's actually a new version out that allows you to do 4-player co-op easier than ever before. And this game, you know, it frustrates me and annoys me and drives me mad to no end, but every time I play it, I find it enjoyable and really creative and really like genuinely horrific at times. And there's just a lot of stuff in there that fits so perfectly with a horror month where you want to play, you know, a collection of spooky games. System Shock 2 not being on that list would just be a tremendous mistake. The Darkness 2. So here's the funny thing about The Darkness. I don't actually remember that much about The Darkness 1. I really only remember playing The Darkness 2 and loving it dearly. The idea of playing a almost like nearly twice assassinated mob member and then mob boss whose also girlfriend was murdered in the first game, and then whose soul was stolen by the Darkness in the second game, to then be like sort of brought back to life by these demon, you know, serpent arms that refuel you by like ripping people's heads off and stealing their hearts and like grabbing their energy and then flinging them across the room and doing all this insane shit. It is just like, it is not a scary horror game, but it is definitely kind of like The Crow or Blade. It's that kind of goofy, awesome, like, fuck yeah horror. You can't deny yourself a game like The Darkness, considering we'll probably never get a sequel to The Darkness, which is a true damn shame, because the ending of The Darkness 2 is a cliffhanger, which fucking sucks. But that doesn't mean you should deny yourself one of the best action horror video games likely ever made, because it is genuinely extremely gory, extremely violent, and extremely satisfying to play from beginning to end. Eclipsium. This is a game that I only just played on my Twitch stream and absolutely loved to death. It's another game in a similar vein to Mouthwashing, except there is no dialogue at all. There is no script. There is, no conversation whatsoever. Again, it is another kind of walking simulator with, light puzzling, and everything in the story is told environmentally, and there are some truly wild parts of this game. While I would absolutely not classify Eclipsium as a jump scare game, there are definitely multiple set pieces throughout this game that will startle you, that will impress you, that will surprise you, and will almost certainly disturb you. But I really did enjoy it all the way through from beginning to end. It took me about 5 to 6 hours on stream, which means you can probably play it even faster than that. It's a very small team that made it. It's one of the lesser known horror titles that came out this year. I definitely put it on this list because I think a lot of people should play it. It is certainly my mouth-washing title for 2025. I think you should play it. I think everybody should play it. It may not be for everybody, but it was a hell of a ride, and I cannot recommend it enough. F.E.A.R. Oh my God, F.E.A.R. So I kind of am putting F.E.A.R. on this list, and also including all of the F.E.A.R. games, because all of them are good for different reasons. Even the third one, everybody calm the fuck down. The third game is definitely not the best of the three, but it is the most, I would say, complete in terms of being a competent first-person shooter. The first one is a competent first-person shooter, but it is also the most rudimentary of the bunch and doesn't really evolve, but it sort of set the tone for what that series was going to be. Frankly, I think F.E.A.R. 2 is maybe the best game of the three. And they're all different flavors of either shocking or horrific or violent. And it's just a wild franchise that, absolutely had a tremendous inspiration and effect on both franchises and games and gameplay and gunplay for games far after people have forgotten that it was such a huge release when it came out. And haven't played it since. And again, I would say F.E.A.R, it's definitely the one that is the hardest to get running well on modern hardware. But you should absolutely, it's very cheap. If you like first-person shooters that play with your perception and are really big on messing with your sense of time, space, reality, and everything in between, you really shouldn't sleep on any of the F.E.A.R games. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I would be out of my fucking mind if I mentioned SOMA, my favorite game from the studio that brought us the Amnesia series, and not mention the game that basically started it all. I know. Technically, Penumbra is the game that started it all, but very few people talk about Penumbra, and honestly, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is objectively better in every way. That being said, it hasn't aged particularly well compared to other games of that era. So basically, if you play SOMA first, it probably won't be as scary or terrifying as when it originally came out. That being said, the thing that is so great about Amnesia: The Dark Descent is that much like SOMA, in fact, exactly like SOMA, the tension is like up to 11 and a half through a lot of that game. Even when you feel like you're safe, you're not entirely sure if you're safe or not. And I think that's where those games excel, because unlike, say, Alien Isolation, which, later you have ways to deal with the alien, games like SOMA and Amnesia: The Dark Descent didn't give you anything. All you had was a light, your wits, and, a hope and a prayer that the closet or table that you hid in or under would shield you from the Jabberwocky. If you're a space fan, play SOMA. If you're a fan of dark fantasy, play Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And if you just think both of those games sound like, a horror fan's wet dream, play both of them, because they are both quite fucking good. Vampyr. Okay, so I'm putting this one with a little bit of an asterisk on it because I know that this game isn't really a horror video game because it's not scary at all. It's not even really that disturbing. It's much more of like an action adventure, sort of, what is it, Victorian era vampire horror game. The thing that I love about Vampyr is that in a world where we are never likely going to see a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 that we actually wanted and got what we did from, was it the Chinese room that made that? I think it's the Chinese room that made Bloodlines 2. This is the game that's probably as close as we're ever going to get to a Masquerade Bloodlines sequel. And I have to tell you, I really enjoy Vampyr. I really need to play it again because I think it is a lot of fun. I know people were really furious about the combat, and it was kind of a weird title in terms of that because you never really got as powerful as you wanted. But also you're just you're a thrall. You're not actually one of the lead vampires, but there's a really awful pandemic going on. And, people are very religious and very afraid of, witchcraft and evil shit. And people definitely believe that vampires are real, and they will fuck you up if they discover that you are in fact a vampire. And you can use your newly acquired vampire powers to either restrain it and try to help people and use it for good, or you can embrace it fully and just, play out that, asshole vampire power fantasy that you really want, but you will reap the consequences of, going full vampire. And I think Vampyr does a really good job. Is it an excellent game? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But again, as a third-person, actual, real, true blue vampire RPG, if you're not getting your RPG fix from Bloodlines 2, Vampyr is there for you. And it's pretty damn good. Inscryption. Oh my goodness. This game just oozes like insanely weird vibes all over the place. I don't think I've ever played a game quite like Inscryption, and I don't know that I will ever play a game quite like it ever again. You are fighting for your life against an evil character who is forcing you to play a card game against your will in order to escape him. And the whole time, everything around you, including the cards themselves, are giving you subtle hints that something is extremely fucked up about all of this. And that is as much as I can say, because if I say even one more thing, I will absolutely ruin the experience of this game for anybody who wants to play it. Inscryption, yes, it's a card game. It's not really a card collection battler game like something like Slay the Spire. If you're not a card game person, you probably won't like it. But I will tell you, if you can get into the card part of it, you will find underneath the surface, as you scratch away at it, a really extremely weird and very messed up horror game. The Evil Within 2. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, why not The Evil Within 1? Because that is actually the Shinji Mikami game from what gave you the Resident Evil series of titles. And what I would say to that is, while I do enjoy parts of The Evil Within 1, I actually think The Evil Within 2 is not only a better game, it's a more coherent game, and the spooks and scares and really weird, horror elements of 2 are done way better than the first game. Yes, it is a much more standard, straightforward, gung-ho sort of hoorah horror title. Like, it's much more westernized, but it's really good. It probably is maybe like 4 hours longer than it should be, but it's got really good enemies, really creepy boss fights, really disgusting body gore, very violent scenes in it, extremely inventive weapons, a really good skill system, and I think a pretty damn satisfying ending and lots of ways to play it and replay it and enjoy it. And it is just a really satisfying title that I think everybody should play because it's just really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I can't, say it enough. Like, if you have played every other third-person action horror game out there, either in like Resident Evil series or, the Silent Hill games or what have you, and you are looking for something else out there to satisfy that hunger for a game of this type, you could do a lot worse than Evil Within 2. And honestly, there aren't a lot of games like Evil Within 2 that do it much better. And that's going to do it for my horror must play list for 2025. Hopefully you all have a very wonderful, very awesome, very exciting, and very fun and horror-filled trick-or-treat wherever you go to enjoy the Halloween season. The season of ghouls and ghosts and everything that goes bump in the night. I love Halloween. It is absolutely my favorite holiday of the year. And I am currently still playing through horror games on my Twitch channel for DarkWolfRahb of the Damned month, which will be extending into November because I just ran out of time in October to play all the games that I want to play. And with that, I'm going to leave you with what I say on every video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for supporting what I do here on YouTube and on Twitch and everywhere that I post stuff on the internet. If you like what you saw here, please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below and let me know what your favorite horror game is, if it made the list, if it didn't make the list, why that's your favorite horror game, what you're looking forward to playing for horror month, day, weekend, this 2025, and what horror games you're looking forward to in the future. I wish you all the very best. Stay safe out there, everyone. Be good to each other now more than ever. Keep playing those video games. Until the next video, enjoy, everyone. Take care, and let the evil consume you. Ow, I hurt my neck.